Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the iRacing Today radio show for today, August the 21st, 2014. Thuffer and Thuckatash. It's a radio show. I am your host, Trevor Cameron. Welcome into the show. Thank you for listening and joining us this evening or whenever you're listening to us through the magic of recorded audio. I'm going to start a yoga class, so remember to everybody breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and enjoy racing in a nice, relaxed atmosphere. My name is Trevor. I have Chad here with me. Namaste, Chad. How are you doing? I think I actually creeped myself out, so I'm going to stop doing that now.
Yeah, I don't know. You started off really hilarious, and then got very serious.
I just chilled right out, man. It was just like, you know what? No, man, the world's too serious. Racing, everybody takes racing too seriously. We all got to just relax, man, you know, and just take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the show of the iRacing Today radio show.
The home show.
Hope everybody's having a good afternoon, evening, morning.
You know.
Whatever.
Time. Hopefully you're just having a good time, man. You're all like, woo, it's time for me
good time on your way to work, while
Yeah.
you're working. Make sure you don't make mistakes while you're working and listening to us, because we don't want you to get fired.
Yeah, like
So-
if you're like a brain surgeon, I would suggest not listening to the
Yeah.
show, because occasionally we say something funny. You'd be all like, I remember when I did that, and uh-oh. Oh, now they can't see red anymore. That's not good. So,
Okay. Now we've really gone off the deep end.
well, you know, I mean, it's got to happen eventually, so might as well just start right out of the gate and say, you know what? This show's just going off the rails, so let's just start off the rails. I don't even know where the rails are anymore. But anyway, for everybody who knows or doesn't know, this is the iRacing Today radio show where we talk about iRacing stuff and usually other things, because it would be boring if we just talk about racing, because, you know, it's fun to just go down weird and wonderful adventures and turns and rabbit holes and whatnot. So on tonight's show, we have all of our regular stuff, except for the stuff that we're not doing. But the regular stuff we are doing is our In the News segment, which is, of course, is the latest news from iRacing and our show. We have our racing experiences, and we have this week, of course, or this weekend, we had our iRacing Today radio show fun races, and we're going to talk a bit about those. And, you know, spoiler alert, they were fun. So,
And they were races.
on iRacing, and they had to do with our show and fans of the show, so it was great. So we'll be talking a bit about
Well,
those.
that's a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So I guess we don't have to talk about them. A bunch of people showed up. You all are awesome people. It was great racing with you, and we had fun. So we'll have to do it again. And this has been our show tonight. So
So that will about do it for this week. We'd like to thank you all.
all right. So moving right on into our In the News segment, which I still need a stinger for because I can make sounds happen in the middle of the show. So I should probably learn how to do that and actually come up with it. Well, I know how to do it. I just have to come up with a sound that I could actually play. So, news, which is presented by iRacerstuff.com. iRacerstuff.com is a website dedicated to the iRacing motorsports simulation. They post things that they find interesting or that may be useful to the iRacing community. Check them out today, or whenever you feel like it, at iRacerstuff.com.
I liked it better when you were thuckantash.
Well, that's when I was just tripping over my own words, man. You know, the listener would not know, but it's been a weird couple of days for me, which involved me not sleeping a lot. So I'm actually going on basically no sleep. So expect things to go a little bit off the rails more than normal because I'm really tired. So, which is why I can't speak. Apparently Chad's just tired as me and those listening to the video, or I'm just being mocked mercilessly. But starting with our news, we have round 12 of the Road Warrior series is the Zolder 2.4 as opposed to the 24 because, well, we're not
We
there
don't have
yet.
that yet.
Race the Rough, the track version of the Rough, the BMW Z4 or Z4, depending on what side of the country or state or whatever you're from, or the McLaren MP412 Charlie this weekend at Circuit Zolder. What? I'm ex-military. It's what I do. For For more information on the series, including race times, visit the Road Warrior Series forum in the iRacing forums. So that's basically the GT3 cars that we were talking about last week that you've been racing. So they're going to be visiting Zolder for 2.4 hours of fun and mayhem. Mayhem.
Now, one thing that we haven't mentioned that we were talking about actually before the show, we figured it'd be a good time to mention it here in the news segment, is if you go to the iRacing forums and you check out the general off-topic discussions, they used to have a bunch of sticky or pinned things at the top. And just in case you're unaware, those did not get deleted. They were just moved to their own separate section, which is now right directly above the general off-topic discussion, and it is called iRacing Pinned Forums and Announcements.
Right.
And you can see some useful applications thread in there, Mazda Motorsports teams with iRacing thread, things that are in development, weekly driver count, series participation, which, by the way, all of these are great threads, but that one is pretty nifty as well. That kind of gives you an idea of how many drivers show up and how much a particular series has.
The community around it, basically. And it's one of those
Yeah.
ones that, I can't remember if I've mentioned that particular one before, but it's one of those ones where it's one of those forums that I kind of take a look at when I'm looking at a new series to take on when a new season comes up. It's like, all right, I want to drive XYZ car, or whatever series. It's like, does anybody actually race that? Because, it's just, I mean, because the series in iRacing kind of ebb and flow, and they have, some have more participation, some have less, some have, a stronger participation where, there's less people, but they're more dedicated, like the Lotus cars, for instance, and stuff like that. So it's usually a good idea before you decide on a car to kind of get an idea of what the participation / community's like. So I usually kind of go back to that forum to get an idea of what people are racing. So it's like, I want to do this. Oh, wait, nobody cares about that car right now, so I'm not going to waste the time to learn it, kind of thing. Or more likely, it would be a lot of people race that car. Great, I can always find an official race. Awesome, sort of thing.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot of neat threads in there, and we just wanted to point that out in case you were unaware that they are still there. And if you had no idea that these were there anyways, we'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, which is actually, and it's a good thing they did that, because they kind of got to a point where there was so much sticky that things only stayed on the first page of the general, whatever, what the heck's it called? The general something.
Discussion off topic.
Thank you. General discussion off topic forum for a very short period of time, because there was only like half the page left, because
Yeah.
the first half of it was all stickied. So it's probably good that they've gone and made that change. So, well, and it was a while ago they did it, and I think it actually wasn't even if I remember correctly, it wasn't a, hey, we should do this because this is a problem. It was something went horribly wrong on the forum, so they did it out of necessity, and it ended up being a good idea in the end, because I think they had to rescue the forums because they got all corrupted or something a while back. So necessity
I'm
is
never really on the forums.
necessity is the mother of all invention. That's what they say. So,
Yeah.
but what also is the mother of all invention is, no, that segue doesn't work at all. One thing we mentioned a while ago when we were talking about driver swaps in the longer endurance races and whatnot was the fact that I believe I said something along the lines of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they're going to have these longer races and people getting up at all hours of the night that, they change the damage model so that you could actually have more repairs, because, in a 24-hour race, if you have to spend a half hour fixing a car, that's not, I mean, it's obviously not great, but it's not the end of the world, so to speak, and people do it all the time, and they work on the cars. So hopefully they were going to find a way to back off the damage model so you could still continue to repair a car even if it had a bunch of damage. Well, apparently, word on the street is that the damage model
Word
will
on
be
the street.
adjusted. So more repairs will be possible instead of ending the race completely, which will help with the endurance racing in the future. So they're doing exactly the thing I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they did? So I'm going to take all the credit for this. It's me. I said it. It has now happened. So all hail Trevor is what I'm getting at, basically. But in track news, the Montgomery Motor Speedway is now a scanned track as opposed to an unscanned track, which means that they've now scanned the track, which means they're probably going to build the track or make it a tech track, which wouldn't be good because then nobody would use it. So, so apparently we'll be getting Montgomery Motor Speedway sometime in the, I won't say near because it's, as we've talked about before, it's quite the process. And Sean let us in, Sean Siff, when we talked to him on the show, let us in that it's quite the process to go from scanned to usable product. So, but at least we know it's in the pipe. Also, the Mosport Oval, otherwise known as the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it used to be just called Mosport, but now it's sponsored by Canadian Tire. Up here in Canada, in Ontario, they have an oval there as opposed to the road course which we've had. They have, it is still, they actually scanned the oval part of it some time ago, but they still don't have a timeline on when either of these tracks are going to be available, but both of those tracks have been scanned, so we will be getting them sometime in the distant, near, medium future.
Good. Now, iRacing, of course, we've mentioned before, has a iRacing news website, which is a very cool website to do a lot of neat stories about different series, do a little Q&A with regular drivers from the iRacing service, and they sometimes do a Q&A with a staff member from iRacing, and we've got a new one that was posted not too long ago with Dan Garrison. And basically, it's a very cool read, but there's a couple of little parts that we wanted to bring up on the show that have to do with the dynamic track stuff, where things don't stay the same.
Which is a topic that's come up many times on this show
Yes.
over the years. Is it safe to say over the years now because we've been doing it for more than a year? Yeah,
Yeah,
over the
sure.
years it's come up. So
So anyways, the question was asked. I gather that your name, meaning Dan Garrison, and the term dynamic track conditions are being used in the same sentence around the office because kind of Dan's job involves this. And his response was, I'm starting to do some work on what I'm calling dynamic track data, the ability for the track to change at a fine level during a session. We'd like to model things such as the racing line getting rubbered in, which would be awesome, and warming up with, excuse me, interacting with the tires, and perhaps debris and fluids on the track as well, which is another thing that would be really cool. Get some of those phantom debris cautions in our races as well. There are clearly, he says, there are clearly several challenges in doing this, as I'm sure there is. And he says he's still in the beginning stages, looking at different implementation options and trying to anticipate potential problems down the road, so to speak. But it is definitely an exciting project. The person that was asking the questions, which I believe was David Phillips, says, can you elaborate a little bit on some of the challenges? Will that lead sooner or later to dirt tracks, meaning the dynamic track data? And his response is, some early considerations are coming up with an implementation that will be fast and usable for both physics and the graphics engine. That's going to be probably the biggest thing that they're going to have difficulty with, in my opinion, because you got to consider people have high-end computers, medium-end computers, and low-end computers, and it's got to work very efficiently for all of those types of computers. But he says designing a scheme that provides a good, smooth, and reasonable amount of memory consumption, and handling the fact that cars joining in the middle of a practice session will then inherit the current track state rather than a green track as if they joined at the beginning of a race. Or not at the race, but the session. We're not really talking about dirt tracks a lot yet around the iRacing offices, but certainly it would be more realistic with a dynamic track versus a static one. So in a way, this does help open the door for something like that down the road. So I thought that was pretty cool. And again, the rest of that is a pretty sweet read, and go check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes. But that was one of the things I really wanted to just throw out there because we've heard a lot about dynamic track changing and all that, but there hasn't been just a ton from the staff members. And even though that's not a ton, it's short,
It's
but
some.
it
It's
yeah,
something. Yeah.
it gets you to the point.
Also, as the call goes on, apparently a fog is rolling in because anybody who's watching the video, I am getting blurrier and blurrier as the show goes on. We had some internet problems earlier on before we got the show going, and apparently they're
We
continuing. So I am well, we as in it's a
this
I don't
this
think
is
we
not a
proved
team effort.
I don't think we proved that it was just me. But anyway, it looks like I'm just fading off into the distance. Like I feel I look like I feel like I'm disjointed and I am blurry and in distinct is the word I'm looking for. Indistinct. While Chad's over there looking all pretty. But then again, on my stream, maybe he looks like crap too. I don't know. But the other thing about Dan that is was significant was he is, I believe, it is stated in the interview as well, that he is the first iRacing member to turn iRacing staff member, which means that the window of opportunity for me to become that person is now closed. I'm still waiting for them to call me and say, hey, you know what? You're good at PR. You're good at promoting our product. Why don't you become our Canadian branch of iRacing? You can go at all the Canadian tracks, and we'll just send you up there. It'll save us time on, problems at the border and things, and it'll be great. And then you can. I mean, Sean's not doing the iRacing TV stuff because he's not here anymore, so you can do those. We'll fly you down once every couple months down to the studio, and we'll have you do the iRacing TV up for us because you're obviously, fine in front of a microphone, fine in front of a camera. You've got that dynamic thing, when you're not blurry. So you could actually do this. So, but that's not going to happen. My dream is gone because Dan has now become the first member to go over to the staff. So I'll take second. I mean, if the pay's right, I can swallow my pride. I can move on. I'll be fine with it. It's okay. But I don't think that. I mean,
Pays right.
they haven't called yet. I mean, I haven't actually, uh, applied any
Applied.
jobs, given any resumes, given them any indication that this is what they should do. I just think it's something that should just naturally happen. I mean, it's just. I mean, you look at all the facts. It's just one of those things of. It's just dumb that it hasn't happened already, is what I'm getting at, really. So, but I'm okay. I can be patient. Yeah, it's fine.
Can I be your assistant?
Yeah, okay. You can hold the video camera in junk. That'll be great. But anyway, yes, we'll put a link in the show notes to over there, and keeping, we've mentioned in the past, keep a look on the site over there at iRacing.com, iRacing News, because they have a bunch of interesting articles that go up from time to time. Also, they haven't called me to interview me for one of these Q&A things.
Yeah, they haven't done that for me either.
I know. You'd think. I mean, we're kind of a big deal. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, who else is doing a podcast like this? Nobody. Andy Small. Great guy, great racer, member of our team. He gets interview. Why? He doesn't have a show. So, and this
What has he
concludes.
done on iRacing?
Well, he's helped us a lot learning how to do the IndyCar, sure, but I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, come on.
I mean, he
we knew
does,
what we were doing.
but and this concludes our weekly Call Andy Out segment. So, for no particular reason, he's our friend, and we like to bust his chops. So,
Oh,
but moving along, one thing that is exciting about iRacing is, at least in the news segment, is the fact that they have brought back one of their offers that they bring back about twice a year. I think they do this, maybe even 3 times a year. I'm not sure, but they have their bonus credits are on, where they basically say, hey, if you purchase $20 of iRacing credits, and you'll get 25 instead, or you could do both of these. If you purchase $75 of iRacing credits, you will get $100 instead. So this is kind of the companion to the deal where they have the membership renewal on for for a sale price, 2 years for the price of one. This is kind of the other side of that, where, okay, maybe you don't need to renew your subscription because you're already out to 2016. Maybe you want to buy some more content. So if you're gonna buy content anyway, you might as well get it for cheaper because it's one of those things where you think about it. It's like, hey, you know what? If you buy 25 or $20 and get $25 worth, so you're getting $5 free there. You have 100% of the content, so you get the 30% discount, and you buy it on a Thursday, which okay, that's okay. But there's so many ways to cheapen the cost of iRacing that it's kind of silly. Sometimes when I hear people complain about, it's like, well, it's so bloody expensive. It's like, okay, it's not a cheap hobby as far as gaming goes. It's a lot cheaper than a lot of games, but it's one of those things where they have so many systems in place that if you take advantage of them, that you can really, really, really make it very affordable. So, and this is one of those things.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I always ask for Christmas. So I can't ask for it yet, so they'll have to do it again.
The idea is basically on the homepage there. There are little. Okay. Well,
Links?
I looked at the links, and they were in the top credit thing there. They mentioned the 2025 and then the 7500, and then I clicked on the links, and they were opposite. But when they actually into the body of it, they mentioned the 100 first, then the 25. So it was messed me up.
Oh,
So anyway, they have links there, and you click on that, and it'll take you to with the promotional code, which are, the promotional code are get the 25 now and get the 100 now, and you can apply those when you go in. Add in the credits. Make sure that you go in and put the promotion code in so you don't accidentally miss out and say, hey, I bought $75 and I didn't get 100. I didn't put the promotion code in, so make sure you do that. And the offer is valid until September the 2nd, 2014. So you still have a couple weeks to get in on that and get some, if you're looking at doing any content that to pick up, then there's no reason not to do this because you're going to get that content for even cheaper. Keep in mind that a member may use each promo code only once, but you can use each of the promo codes, meaning that you can do the 2025 and the 75-100. So you could, in theory, if you wish to, you could get 125 for the price of $95. So if you want to do that. And that, I think, about concludes that part. A couple other things to clean up I wanted to mention. One thing we mentioned that still here, iRacing's data is paused updating. If you want to get the latest data, please refresh our page or allow us to continue updating. That surprised us right before we went live last week. Well, it turns out there's a reason for it, and they actually did explain it in the forums. I didn't find the forum post specifically, but I did read it earlier in the week. And basically the idea is they have if you're actually idle on the iRacing page, you're not doing anything, you're not clicking on any links, you're not going to any sessions and stuff. What it does is it basically pauses updating the web page itself. I kind of read it like, it sounded like they were trying to push an update to me, and it paused, and which is what confused me in the wording. But what it actually is basically it'll stop updating the information on, if you're on the dashboard, the race guide, the sessions up in the upper right-hand corner if you're on to Race Now. It stops basically pushing that information out to you if you're idle on the page. And the idea behind it is the fact that because some people might have the page open in the background and then go do something else, it's to kind of just lessen the server load a little bit so it doesn't have to push out all this extra information to people who aren't even looking at the information, is the idea. Initially, it was set to a 5-minute timeout, and that caused a problem, and the members came back and said, hey, wait, no, not quick enough because of some various things that the staff hadn't thought about, so they've increased it up to 15 minutes at the last time I'd seen, and I think that's what it's set to now. So if you're confused by what that is, apparently there was mass confusion. We were not the only ones, because as I was reading the forums, there were several people saying, you know what, there were people out there who thought, since they hadn't seen any communication on it, they thought maybe they had picked up some sort of malware, and clicking on the link that says continue updating might, have led to some sort of virus. So they were afraid to hit the button, which a perfectly valid response when you think it.
Yeah.
When you think it through, it's like, hey, my website all of a sudden did this, and anytime there's a link you don't
Well,
recognize, you know,
the only thing that gave it away to me that it wasn't malware is that it looks very iRacing-ish. Like it looks styled that way. Like if it had looked Windows-ish, like
mm,
a Windows, I would have been like, I'm not touching that. But it does seem to be styled in an iRacing format. So I clicked it and my computer's not infected.
so if you see that, don't worry about it. It is supposed to be there, and there is a reason why it's there. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing that it might help the overall experience because it's not pushing out information. It does not have to. So
Hmm.
that's what that's about. And also want to mention that the spotter pack that both Chad and I use, the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack, has finally been updated. Dave Hoffman is the person behind that, I believe,
Yeah.
who does that work there. So he actually updated, just to put a forum post in there today, actually. Although Scott Feldhausen, listener of the show, mentioned on Twitter yesterday to us that it had been updated. So I believe it takes care of some of the Lucky Dog stuff, which was weird because he hadn't updated it for that. Because so it still used the iRacing default, and then so everything else sounded like Chad and Ed or Earl talking back and forth. And then all of a sudden you get weird Australian guy telling you about the lucky dog, and it was very disconcerting. So now he's
I
updated
thought
it.
it was
So,
kind of funny.
well, it was okay. It was amusing, but it was still it took you out of the moment, man, because you're all of a
Yeah.
sudden going,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Hey, wait a second, who knocked out Earl? Why is he talking like this?" So so anyway, it's been updated. He has a few notes in there related to some of the updates in the forum post, which I'll put in the show notes, so you can go check that out. And you can of course download that over at D is it? Yeah, I guess it's dwarehouse.com. The
Yeah.
warehouse. I was going to say
Um,
DW Airhouse, but that doesn't sound right at all.
yeah, and there's also one of the other popular spotter packs is the Dale Earnhardt Jr. spotter pack, which uses, I guess, Steve Letarte and TJ Majors, and that was created by Joshua Thomas. You can download both of those, or at least get to their websites quickly. If you go to iRacerStuff/spotter-packs, iRacerStuff.com. So that one I know is real popular, and I think even our teammate Larry uses the Dell Junior Spotter Pack. So that is apparently a really good one. I've never tried it. I've always just stuck to the Jimmy Johnson Spotter Pack and enjoyed that and appreciate all the work that David does to make that one a really good one. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the work that Joshua does as well, even though I haven't tried his. I mean, I it's actually not as complicated as you would think to create your own spotter pack, but yet it is. Uh, it's it's actually fairly simple. The complicated part is if you're going to use a real racing team for your race engineer or crew chief or your spotter or whatever, it's hard to get the audio and then you have to clean it up to where it sounds good, and that part is again not very hard. It's just long and takes well, not years. It takes a long time and to get it right if you want to do it perfect. My friend Greg created his own spotter pack, a very basic one, within a couple of days, and it sounded really good. I even used it once. It was he's a big Denny Hamlin fan in NASCAR, so it was mostly Mike Ford when he was still there, and then I forget who Denny's spotter was at the time, uh, but it's really not that complicated. And so if you want to tackle your own spotter pack, there's actually a forum post in the iRacing forums. I think I forget where it is, but it kind of gives you everything you need to know about creating one. And I've been tempted myself to do it, but I just assume stick to the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack until it dies. So
Well, I was going to say I use the Jimmy Johnson one not because I have any particular affiliation with Jimmy. I mean, obviously I'm a Greg fan, but I just used that one. It's the first one that I used, and it's really well done. So I just kind of stuck with it. I mean, I don't care about Chad Knaus or Earl. What's his last name?
Earl Barbin.
Barbin. But it's really well done. It enhances my experience, so I just use it, kind of thing. I was wondering if there was a spotter pack that says, "Chad, stop hitting your wheel while you're talking on a microphone that picks up all the sounds around your room," because that would be useful at this point in time. But Actually, I was thinking. I mean, the big yeah. What if, as I say, what have you done? Turn into me? I don't know what to do with my hands, so I'm just gonna play the drums on my wheel here. Yeah. The most complicated thing about that would be to find, to dig through all of the audio clips and find the one that matches the scenario. Because, like I said, I don't think it's complicated because you have it explains it's just a matter of matching up sounds to the particular clip. Like there's a clip that says, that is for, there's somebody on your right, there's somebody on your left. So you just have to find a clip that matches that description, basically. And that would be hard.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it might be kind of fun to make a spotter pack. The iRacing Today radio show spotter pack, where, I play spotter and you play crew chief, and we just come up with we just we just come up with a script and just record a spotter pack.
We should. And then we could give it to Scott and let him do all the dirty work.
He se- he seems to be very good at kind of taking stuff and kind of going with it when it comes to help the show. So we'll just record a whole bunch of audio recordings of
We
me
should.
saying
That would be
it's like,
fun.
"Hey, the car on your left, man. Oh man, don't go down left. Be boom confetti. Chad saying, "Come up now."
So, anyways, you got a car on your right.
So you might want to think about coming up sometime in the near future.
But one other thing that I want to mention for our in the news segment about team driver swaps. This just kind of popped up. We kind of already knew this, but also we didn't. You can create a team if you want and invite anybody that you want to for driver swaps. iRacing will have a whole new team section on the website, sort of like the league section, which we've been talking about in the past. And that I personally cannot wait for. I think that's going to be really cool. But when you register that team in a race that you are a part of or own, technically speaking, any of your teammates can then join in a hosted or official series in which we designate as a team race. You could also register your team for a race, yet allow anyone to join it, including outside of your team. 5 people can join a session at any one time for a team. However, 64 in total, because people can come and go, then even come back again. So say a 24-hour race, you might have 24 different drivers on your team or something. Say it is a 30-car field and they all had 24 drivers, then you could have 720 drivers participating in that one race.
Yikes.
Yeah. But when the new driver swap feature is completed and released, which is in Season 4, it will be possible to join as a spotter first and then later as a driver or a spectator, which is something that you cannot do now. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, okay, run that. So you can actually join as a spotter crew chief and then join as a driver after the fact?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know that's something
So,
that
like,
we've kind of struggled with before. With if I wonder if that'll fix that problem where like we've been in the same session, we've been driving, one of us is wrecked out of the race, we want to jump out and spot for the other guy, and we can't. They won't let us. I wonder if that will also help that problem.
Possibly. We'll have to see. But that's because we were already, in the session as a driver, and then
Right.
it's like, hey, you can't do this. So,
That's the exact verbiage. You click on the button, it's like, hey, you can't do this, man. No.
hey, well,
Hey,
back
forget
up, take
about
it
it. What
easy,
you
man.
doing, man? You can't. No, man. You
Take
are a
it easy.
driver. You wrecked out. You're in the infield care center, man. You can't go spot. You can't even see straight.
So I wanted to say that since we're on the show, and that's kind of newish news to throw out there. So that's pretty cool, and I still cannot wait for driver swaps. Just for the record.
It is. It is. It's one of those things where, like I said, you mention it to your significant other. I mean, for those of us that are in relationships, it's like, okay, so here's, and I've had this conversation, and I've talked to people on Twitter and listeners of the show who've had this conversation. It's like, okay, so here's what's going to happen. They're going to start the race on like Saturday afternoon, and it's going to go until like Sunday afternoon. and I'm going to be working with the guys on my team, and we're going to be jumping in and out of the car virtually. So there's a chance I'm going to have to set my alarm for like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then get up and go downstairs and then drive for 4 hours and then come back to bed, and then and have that conversation. See the reaction you get. Note now that you have now gone into crazy land, and you are now obsessed with the world, and they won't understand, or they probably won't understand.
See, that's interesting because one of my coworkers has always been very intrigued by all this iRacing stuff. And when I told him, I was like, "Yeah, we're getting driver swaps soon." He was like, "What's driver swaps?" And I was like, "Well, basically, what it would allow us to do is," and I just made up a for instance, we can have a 24-hour race. We can have like five, six guys on a team, and you just rotate in the same car. So basically, Fred over here would start and he would race for a certain amount of hours, and then I would replace him, and I'd race for a certain amount of hours, and then somebody would replace me, and so on and so forth until you get to the end. And like he looked at me, and like I kind of thought, maybe he would do this, like, you guys take this way too serious, but
That look
but
on the
he
face,
looked
it's
at
like, stare at you for a second. You're an idiot.
yeah, like that's what I thought he was gonna do. But then he looked and he was like, "That's really cool that you can do that on a video game." And I was like, simulation.
Simulation, not a video game.
But like he really thought it was really cool. And he's not into racing or anything like that. I think he's only into racing because I am, and he only follows things because of me. But it was, he seemed very interested in it and like seeing how it would work, because the idea of him, I guess the idea that he was thinking of it is seeing all these people in real life doing like the Daytona 24 and how they swap out, because he does know a little bit about racing. He was telling me, he thinks that's really cool and adds it's a different style of racing than what you normally see, like in IndyCar, NASCAR, or Formula One, where you've just got one driver for the duration of the race and it's over. And he was fascinated that that was coming to a game,
Right.
because that is a very huge deal. And so, and I agree with it. I mean, that's big, guys. Like it's so cool that we're going to be able to do this.
It is, and it's like I said, I've definitely come on board with how exciting this is going to be and what it's going to mean for what we do. I mean, being the first to really do this sort of thing, like it's not a normal. It's not normal for a simulation to do this. This is groundbreaking, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I don't know how it's going to do for our streams. That's going to be weird, but anyway. That'll be.
Well, basically,
I'll,
you
I'll
can stream
stream.
for 4 hours. I can stream for 4 hours. Andy can stream for 4 hours. Larry can stream for 4 hours, and Lewis can stream for 4 hours. And then we can email or Dropbox or somehow get all those to one person who just puts them all together, and voila.
And then sends it out, and we all put it on our YouTube channel. 24
Yeah.
hours of. I mean, they have 10 hours of the Trollololo song, so I mean, why not have 24 hours of us, driving around a road course? I mean,
Could you say that again?
the Trollololo song. That Russian dude. You know the
Yeah.
song.
So anyways, that will complete the in the news segment. A lot of cool news things. A lot of cool things in general just coming to iRacing. This is
Yeah.
such a cool sim.
It is. And before we move into our experiences, I want to do my weekly "Hey, there's something happening on Twitter that I thought I should mention" segment. And one of my Twitter followers, and
Is that a segment?
I follow. It is now, and I follow him back. Well, or I get distracted by Twitter or whatever, like I did with poor Sofa Slayer there last week, and told him that he ruined the show. The tweet he sent out was great. He sends it to both me and Chad. He says, "So I'm listening to my favorite podcast today, and I hear my name ... followed by I ruined the show." It's like, oh, they've talked about, oh,
Oh, that was funny.
the joy of victory and the agony of defeat all in one sentence. But another listener to the show, uh, Sean, goes by J Sean AU 2006. He just tweeted out, "Achievement unlocked. Finished last in race." So I'm guessing he had something go slightly awry, or at least was outclassed by his competition. But I found that funny. I have used that achievement unlocked, whatever sentence before on things. So I found that funny. It made me giggle. So anyway, we shall move on to our racing experiences. Chad has a couple extra things. The only experiences I have due to some personal stuff going on. It was a very busy week for me, but my only experiences are the iRacing Today radio show fun races, which we'll talk about in a second. So, Chad, why don't you tell us what you were doing when you weren't having fun? Well, I'm sure you were having fun, but not as much fun.
I never have fun. Um, well, I did my GT3 challenge or series, GT3 challenge series race yesterday. I am really, speaking of fun, starting to have a lot of fun in that series. Like that's a cool series.
Hmm.
Because when I first joined it, it was just kind of like, ooh, they've got some of the cars that I really like and I want to drive them. But now it's kind of turned into not only do they have the cars that I like, but it's just a cool overall series. And they were at Road America or they are at Road
Oh,
America
I
this
was
week.
gonna say I'm looking. It's like, oh, they're at Road America. I've been kind of tempted to dip my toe into that series because the BMW is pretty easy to drive and the McLaren's pretty fun, and we all know that I love Road America. Hmm.
Yeah. The thing that's odd, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of mail about this. I don't understand why the bigger tracks in this series have longer races, because obviously this is a timed series, and so like the first few races were on somewhat short tracks. It only takes just a little over a minute or maybe a little under to get around them, and the races were 30 minutes. Well, Road America is a 4 mile track, so it's very huge, and it takes like just over 2 minutes to get around there, and the race is an hour and 15 minutes, which I can understand because it's a bigger track, so you would complete more laps, and they don't want the race to be too short lap wise.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm just confused why. I mean, hour and 15 seems random. So I wonder if it has something to do with it being GT3 and there's some kind of road thing that I don't know about. But anyways, I'm not complaining. I'm fine with it being that. I'm just confused. So the Road America race was an hour and 15 minutes. Now, I streamed it and it's on my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel as well. But I I started the stream, was explaining to everyone what was going on, what I was doing, and got ready to grid. And love racing Road America, very comfortable there. Driven it a lot of different cars. Really enjoyed the. I was in the McLaren for this week, and really enjoyed that car in general, and especially at Road America, which this week was the first time I've done that combination. And so we grid and we start rolling because you do the pace lap. It's not a standing start. And we get down to like the middle of turns 1 and 2, and the guy behind me just runs into me. And I was like, well, that seems like a dumb thing to do. And then suddenly I figured out why.
Okay.
My quality bar shot red.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, he didn't know I was there. That's why he hit me. And so about, oh, I don't know, 5 seconds later, it kicked me out. My internet died, like literally while I was in turns 1 and 2,
Oh.
which my internet really never goes out. So that was strange. But the cool thing about it happening when it did, and me recognizing that it was doing it, is that I was able to jump out really quickly, reset the modem and the router because it's right next to my computer over here on the right of me, and I got back into the race and restarted the stream because I was only streaming on Twitch, and got everything, back into where it was as if nothing had ever happened, and the race went green right as I got in my car. So it was almost as if I missed the start of the race, even though it had to tow me back because it was as if I had wrecked on the track. So I ended up 1 lap down,
Okay.
but I wasn't like years behind everybody. So the first part of the stream, I'm by myself, and I did a lot more talking in this stream because big track all by myself. I knew it was gonna probably be very boring to watch, so I do a lot of talking, and actually it was kind of fun. I talked a little bit about that iRacing setup sync software that we had mentioned before on the show.
Hmm.
I've downloaded that just recently and started using it. And by the way, that's an awesome program that Nick created, and it actually found me a Road America setup that I could use. So I highly recommend using that if you haven't. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to the iRacing forums and just search iRacing setup sync,
Yes.
and it'll be one of the top things that come up. And then you can download it. It's Nick Fitzer maybe that created it. And so anywho, I was talking a little bit about that, and just talking about all kinds of different things, and it ended up actually being uh, hopefully a fun stream. Some people joined my Twitch chat while I was live and were talking to me, and I was talking back and forth with them. And the race itself was a blast. Road America and the McLaren combination, I think, is my favorite with Road America of the different cars I've driven. I've driven the late model there. Trevor and I did that one time. I've driven the Nationwide car and some of the road cars like the Star Mazda and something else. But I think the Road America and the McLaren is my favorite combination at that track. Now the race itself, besides being a lap down the whole time, and then I finished 2 laps down, went about as good as you can have a race go. And there were 23 cars in the field. I started 17th, but really started 23rd because of the whole internet dropping thing, and wound up getting a 12th place finish and stayed on the track the entire race until the last corner
Oh no.
on the last lap. And I was so excited to get the race over with that I came out of it too hot and just did a quick donut through the grass. It was actually kind of hilarious, to be completely honest. But I spun in such a way that I got it back going straight again, never hit anything, and got a 2 incident point out of it, Dill, but still gained a lot of safety ratings, so it doesn't matter. But it was kind of funny. But I had the zero ink race all the way up until that point. But that was a blast. And I'm really glad that, because at first I wasn't going to stick it out because I was like, well, I could just do another one, later when my internet's not going to drop out.
Right.
But then I'm glad that I went ahead and stuck it out and did it because it was really a lot of fun. So I'm really enjoying that series. And it seems like a lot of people that have either followed the show or follow my streams or Twitter or whatever seem to race that series too. So it's pretty cool that it's a very popular series. It pretty much always has a race official. So you should definitely come join, Trevor.
Well, I was just thinking that I think this might be time for me to do my, I don't know, my occasional, hey, Chad, can you paint me up a car that looks sort of like my other cars and make it the McLaren so I can race? Because, if there's going to be any track that's going to get me into the groove of racing those cars and getting comfortable with them, I think it'd be Road America because it's the perfect scenario of track because it's big, so I'll have all kinds of space, and it's a track that I'm very very familiar with. So I think I might jump in there and try those because I saw the race in there. It's like, I love me some Road America. So because
Yeah,
America. So I mean, what's not to love? I mean,
America. It is a very fun track. I think it flows well. Like, and I even kind of talk about that in my stream. How I felt like you're in two different worlds. Like one part of the track, it's like you're driving through the country. The other part of the track, it's like a regular racetrack, and it's just kind of
it's
it
like
feels like you go everywhere.
it's like you're driving across America. Think about it.
Road America.
I've been
Um,
everywhere, man.
yeah. So that was that experience. Now the other experience was the RCRL Pro Cup at Bristol. And here's the thing that came out of that. I got a fifth place finish,
All right.
um, but I should have had second. But I messed up. I haven't determined yet if I messed up or if iRacing messed up. But somewhere something messed up.
There was a mess up.
Um, yeah, we had a lot of green flag racing in that race, which I personally love because I do a whole lot better at Bristol under green than under caution.
Hmm.
Go figure. And so I was running in second, definitely the second fastest car on the track. The only guy that was faster than me, it's like the best oval driver in the sim. So I can live with that.
Yep.
And I was having fun because I really felt strongly that I was going to finish second and get my first top two finish in the Pro Cup series. Now, I don't remember how many races there's been in that series, but I have 29 starts in the Pro Cup series. And I've never finished in the top two, which if I was running 10th to 20th all the time, I wouldn't really care about.
Hmm.
But here's the reason why this bothers me that I don't have a top two finish. In those 29 races, I have seven, count them, seven third place finishes. So it's like, you gotta, like, it bugs me that at some point I haven't been able to get second. Now, there are a few of those thirds, that was literally all I could get. But some of them, I was even in the lead or in second and was showing that I could get a top two finish, and then something happened and took me out of it. Well, this still at Bristol was strange. I don't know what happened, but my Z1 dashboard said that I needed a certain amount of fuel. And I changed my F4 black box to just above that to where it would, I could get to the finish. Well, we had a lot of green flag racing, so it was a green flag pit stop. And when I came out from that pit stop, it immediately showed me as 1.5 gallons short, which is equivalent to about 13 laps at Bristol. And I was like freaking out because I could have swore, that I put in enough on my black box compared to what the Z1 dashboard was saying. And the problem is that I don't specifically remember what the dashboard said to put anymore. Like, I can't remember what it said because, like, I was trying to process, did I make the mistake or did the sim make the mistake? So I don't know what happened. But anyways, I ended up having to make another pit stop, and instead of getting a second place finish, I ended up in fifth, which is not the end of the world, but I really wanted second. So that has led me to kind of doing a spinoff of what you did last week with your, hey, here's my password for spotting. Come spot for me if you happen to be on.
Right.
Mine's a little different in the sense that I don't need a spotter, but I need a crew chief. Someone who can help me with pitch strategy and also do the little black boxes, and so that I don't have to worry about it and I can just focus on driving the race car, because especially at Bristol, I mean, you go so fast around Bristol, it's hard enough to think and concentrate on what you're driving and not hitting the wall and driving around other cars. And then you toss in doing your black boxes and figuring your fuel and yada yada. It's chaos. So it would have been really nice to have somebody on Monday night. So on Twitter on Tuesday morning, I threw up a thing, hey, I need a crew chief, just somebody to help me with, the pit strategy of it, because it's fixed setup, so there's no setups, there's not even a pit road adjustment that you can do. All I need is somebody to help me with changing my black boxes and helping me make sure that I have enough fuel to always make it to the end in whatever situation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put those tweets up, I was being very serious. And I wanted someone that was going to be serious and not just hey, I'll do it. And then, they do a terrible job. And I was hoping that someone would realize that. And it turns out, I think just about everyone realized that saw it. And John Hensley, that we interviewed on the show and has always been kind of a friend of ours with back in the short track Pro Cup days, and now with IRSRA, and now even some of his team is racing in the RCRL B series. We've always kind of been connected, and we can't ever seem to get away from each other. And so he volunteers
and he's also painted me a bunch of cars too in the past as well. So
yeah, and he's painted some for me as well in the past. I'm sure for Larry and Lewis and all them as well at some point. So he volunteered to play crew chief Now he said that he may not be able to make all the remaining races, which there's 12 races left. So I guess I'm still advertising for a backup crew chief for those times when Hensley may not be able to be there. So if any listener of the show thinks that they can do a really good job on the pit strategy stuff, changing black boxes, helping me with fuel, and helping me hopefully get the best finish possible for that particular race, and you'll take it seriously because this is a very serious and difficult series. It's very hard to get good finishes in this series. Then let me know. But of course, Hensley's kind of my first priority guy since he came in first. But I'm looking forward now. Like after the Bristol race, I was not looking forward to Atlanta next week. I was almost dreading it because of the dejection of not being able to get second at Bristol and finishing fifth because of a stupid error.
Hmm.
Um, but then after Hensley kind of spoke up and he and I have been kind of chit-chatting some through email, since then it's kind of made me excited to get there and experience it because it's another thing with that crew chief and spotter deal that adds more realism. And I'll say this and then we'll move on to the fun races. It's kind of funny because he's already emailed me giving me instructions on stuff that I have to do. So I actually have to work now.
Oh, okay.
I don't like this at all. But no, he wants me to do a full fuel run and then tell him how many laps that is. And then after that, change two tires and see if two tires would work on the tracks. And I mean, everything he said is great.
Yep.
But it's hopefully going to help me keep from making mistakes or having the sim make a mistake or something in the future. So, and I mean, I know John's not perfect and he can make mistakes just as excellent as I can, but hopefully between the two of us, we'll avoid that. And hopefully, I'll get a top two finish before the end of the year because that's kind of my goal.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this might be my misunderstanding, but somebody can't jump in, like when they jump in as crew chief, is it crew chief slash spotter? Like they can't be either, or like do you lose your spotter if he's in there crew chiefing, or like the computer
No,
spotter?
what he can do is he can jump in and he won't hit the start spotting button, which what that will do is he'll actually hear my Jimmy Johnson spotter pack
Okay.
and as if, he was sitting in my room listening to my headset. Um, but he'll still be able to play with the black boxes. You can be either or
Okay.
both. So, I mean, it does work that way. Because I know one time when I spotted for Andy, when I joined, I hadn't hit spot yet, and I could hear his crew chief. I could see his incident points in the bottom, like if he hit the wall or something. And but I still had his black boxes up on the screen. So, like I said, I don't need a spotter. I mean, I love the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack. I've got those settings set up to where I really enjoy them, and they work great.
Right.
So all I need out of this is a crew chief, and hopefully John will. I mean, John is a good guy. I mean, he's smart. He's got a good team of drivers, and he's helped them do the same thing he's helping me with being a spotter or a crew chief. And he's actually kind of won the Daytona 2.4 with one of his drivers as being a crew chief. So he's pretty good at this.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, it's good to know.
So yeah.
That's cool. They can actually do either or, and I was just unfamiliar because I've never jumped in to do that stuff myself. So, but yeah, I mean, and it kind of ties into some of the stuff that we were doing before when we had the ND stuff that we had Andy and their crew chiefing for us. It just adds so much more to the experience to have somebody like you're just worrying about driving as opposed
Yeah.
to you're not thinking about fuel, you're not thinking about tires, you're not thinking about adjustments. You're just following. It's like, ooh, I don't know, dare I say, like a real race car driver does. You're just thinking about driving and you're just giving feedback to the crew chief. The crew chief is saying, okay, you're gonna, you're approaching traffic. In the case of the Indy car, okay, you're gonna need to adjust your weight jacker forward. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. Okay, cautions out. Set your engine map into 8 and do this, and just
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like that just takes so much mental processing out of
Yeah.
what you're thinking about. So
Yeah, and I think that's what's led to a lot of my mistakes is because I overthink it and there's so many things to do that it's hard. Like I know one time when Larry was crew chiefing for me, I was going down pit road and made the decision while I was in the on pit road to only get two tires,
Hmm.
whereas before I was going to get four. And I could have done it and probably done it very successfully. But because Larry was there and I was like, let's take two tires. He did it for me. All I had to do was watch pit road speed and just turn right into my pit stall.
Right.
And boom, two tires. So it does take a lot off of you. And the thing that I'm kind of looking forward to with Hensley is kind of letting, I'm going to tell him everything he needs to know. And I've already practiced for Atlanta and wrote down what my tire wear was, how long my fuel was, and I also told him, I mean, we can't make adjustments because it's fixed setup, but I told him what the car was doing, at the end of a run, so it might affect, when he pits me and stuff.
Hmm.
And kind of leaving the strategy up to him will help me because, I mean, he's a smart guy. I trust him. I know he's not going to do anything to screw me out of something. And doing that Indy 300 race that you kind of alluded to there a minute ago, there was one point in that race where I was going to pit because I felt like we'd run enough laps under green. Where I was like, yeah, I should probably go ahead and pit, get new tires. And, in my mind, I literally said that. I was like, I'm going to pit here. Let's go ahead and start focusing on getting down pit road. Where's my pit stall? Blah, blah, blah. I was trying to think all through that. And then I stopped thinking about it and was ready to go. And like 2 seconds later, Andy came on the radio and said, we're going to stay out. And I was like, and instead of sitting there and being like, we are? Whoa, dude, we're pitting. Yeah, there's no way that I'm staying out. When he said, and I'm being serious, when he said, we are staying out, I was like, okay. I was like, I trusted what he was doing, and I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. Whereas I just 5 seconds ago was ready to pit.
Hmm.
So that does add a lot of realism, and it does help. I mean, it really does. So I'm looking forward to seeing how having somebody on the pit box helps me out.
Yeah. I mean, now all I need to do now is find somebody to do that for me, spot for me, and then drive for me, and I'll be great. Excuse me.
Well, I can drive for you.
Well, and once we have driver swaps, I mean, we'll just have to find a way that it says my name, but you're the one actually driving, and then, everything will be complete. My master plan. I'll become a master driver then.
Oh.
But moving right along, we'll talk a little bit about the iRacing Today radio show fun races that happened this weekend. Like I said, it was my only real experience this week. Due to
It was a
various
good one.
circumstances, but man, that was I I dare say it was better than I had hoped. I mean, we had some, we were hoping that it was going to be a good experience for everybody, but like it couldn't have been fit more into what I was hoping these races would become. We had a great turnout. We had, it was a bunch of great people. I mean, the thing that stuck out with me most, I mean, just overall, was the fact that it was like these were all such great guys. I mean, it was so it it made me feel so happy to know that the people who listened to the show and wanted to participate and got a chance to participate were all people that I really wanted to drive with. I mean, like they were like we've talked about, the various people that you meet on iRacing and you run into, various styles of drivers and stuff. But these were all people that were just great. And it just, I don't know, it just made me so happy that our listeners are great people. you know,
Yeah.
it was so much fun. I mean, and it was, one of the things that epitomized kind of what we talk about on the show and it kind of almost gave it some more legitimacy to the idea of that we talked about a little while ago about maybe starting up a league, was the fact that there were people there that were obviously oval racers and there were people there that were obviously road racers, and
Hmm.
they had no fear, so to speak, of coming in and just going in and trying the other side, because there were people in there that were obviously uncomfortable doing the oval stuff and they were uncomfortable doing the road stuff, but they felt comfortable in the company that they knew they weren't going to get yelled at. They knew they weren't going to, oh, I messed up. Now I'm going to, get the wrath of some guy. Like everybody was completely comfortable just having fun and making mistakes and going out and just having, a great afternoon. Like it was so cool and awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the oval race. I was a little offended at you laughing at me so hard. I mean, come on, man.
What?
Uh,
Well, like, I mean, you should have seen that. You should have seen that situation. I mean, we haven't discussed what happened, but you should have seen what it looked like in my rear mirror, like when my front to rear mirror as it happened. Like
well, I saw it on your stream.
it was
It did
funny.
look pretty funny. Yeah. Basically, what happened was, in case you didn't watch any of the streams or any weren't there, I was running in second, and the guy Sam was running in third, and he was trying to pass me on the outside, and I was a little bit higher up the track than I had been. I was pre-planning a pass for the win, and just trying different things to see how I could get runs on the guy that was leading.
Hmm.
And I was just up higher than normal. I don't know why now, but I was. And he was trying to side draft, so he was trying to be a little bit lower than normal, and because you're basically screwed on the outside there. It's very hard to do anything in the street stock at Charlotte on the
Yep.
outside. And I think it started as a netcode. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we really were just that close, but it seemed I could feel the steering wheel start to go to the right,
Hmm.
and I could also feel my seat start to go to the right, as if, I was being turned into the wall. And that's when I started, yanking the wheel to the left. And then I had basically, before my death, I had just enough time to hit the TeamSpeak button and go, ah! And that was the last thing I did because I knew I was dead.
That was your last words.
Yeah. And then basically I went head on into the fence. And then after I came back down the track, I was facing the driver's side door was facing the traffic that was oncoming. And Larry held our teammate drilled me, T-boned me. And then that pushed me to a certain point where Robert, who kept trying to get on my stream, went underneath me. So then I went into orbit and then came back down and went up and hit the outside wall. And then once I figured out which way the wheel was pointed, yeah, she was toast.
Oh yeah, you had like nose for like you could not have hit that at more of a 90-degree angle. Like just
Yeah.
gunk right into the wall.
So yes, the cool thing about my stream and Trevor's stream is on my stream you get the in-car camera of it, and then on Trevor's he was in fifth I think at the time, so he's a little ways back from it, and you see the whole wreck at the beginning, and then you can watch his little mirror and you see me flying through the air, and I mean it's kind of cool to get the two perspectives of it. And it was a pretty sweet wreck. But anyways, that whole race in general was a lot of fun, and I think the street stock was a good choice at Charlotte because it was everybody seemed to like it. I mean, in practice, I was there for most of practice, and people were saying, "Oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. This is a good combination, and all that stuff." And it didn't seem like very many had done it. One guy said he didn't even know he owned the street stock, which obviously it comes free. So, but yeah, that race was a lot of fun. And then we went to Okayama. I'll let you tell that story.
I was gonna say also the man. I don't even who even won. Like, it was that style of racing that like I don't even what it was Mark Arthur
Yeah.
won our race, and I actually came in second. So I mean that was
Yeah,
that
you
was
should
pretty
be
cool. I mean,
thrilled, man.
yeah, I mean, hey, it was. No, I was running about fourth until you ended up dead. But but I mean, and it was one thing that was funny as well because there were people in there that were running, like I mentioned, with the various skill levels and stuff. There were people that ran like horrible in the oval race, and then we go over to Okayama, and then they were top of the speed charts. But
Yeah.
but there was no, like I said, it just I'm harping too much on it, but it was just the lack of judgment. Like it was just, you know what? All right, we all know. We all know what's going on here. Have fun. So now Okayama. Now I had done some practicing there, obviously, to make sure I was comfortable enough. Now I discovered that there was one corner. I don't remember what the number is, but it was one that I hadn't spun on at all during my practice. There was a couple of corners where I had some challenges, and so I kind of worked on those when I was doing my practice. But there's one set of corners that I had no problem with whatsoever, and then decided to spin out 3 times during the race in that one corner. So that was great. Usually I did it in front of people, which was awesome. Now here's we've talked about in the past about how to handle road racing and some of the mistakes I've done when it comes to I know my line, I know my braking points. I'm always worried about the guy behind me, so I'm always worried that I go too deep into the corner because I'm afraid if I don't, the guy behind me is going to run over me, and and I had to let go of all that in order to get better at road racing, in order to advance myself as a road racer. So we're going into on the first lap. We're going into where was it? It wasn't turn 1.
It's like turn 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was right after you kind of go. You're kind of going downhill a little bit, and you're kind of weaving back and forth after the turn. You do turn 1, then you kind of do that switchback thing, and then you're heading down towards a sharp right-hand corner before you head back uphill. And I have Chad behind me, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I am going to stick to my guns. I'm going to just race my race. I'm not going to worry about it, whatever. So I take my normal braking line. I brake, as I normally did go into that corner. And all I hear is Chad go, "Wah!" And then he proceeds to veer violently to the left of me and spins himself out because he had no idea it was the first lap, so he didn't know what my braking point was. But I stuck to my guns and said, you know what? This is my braking line. This is where I brake, so I'm going to do it. And Chad almost ran me over. Now I'm glad Chad took evasive. I saw him do it. Like I saw him carrying too much speed. I kind of veered a little to the right. He veered a little bit to the left. He went off into the sand off the side there and spun out, and still ended up passing me because I ended up waiting for him several times for the rest of the race. But it's funny the fact that that's what we preach about it, we talk about it, and then I did it, and Chad almost wrecks himself because of it. So that was funny.
Well, okay. The interesting thing is, if like you said, you veered to the right, which you did. I'm not denying that, but like, if you would have done it even a half a second quicker, everything would have been okay. Because when I veered to the left, that was the exact same moment you veered to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I first started coming up on you, and you can see it in my stream, I was going to hit you if I'd have kept going. But when I veered, then that saved it. Well, you veered at the same time. Well, if you'd have veered and I wouldn't had, then it would have still been okay, and I would have still been on the track, so
Right.
I wouldn't have spun out. Because I ran off the track, because there's no more asphalt over there, that's what caused me to spin out. But yeah, I was used to driving in way deeper there. But that was another thing. It's the same thing with we talk about where you're the guy behind and you have to pay attention to the guy in front, and go with their braking points and stuff like that. I was just so excited about being in a fun race. I wasn't even thinking about braking points, and I just went in the turn and I saw you stopping, and I was like, I've been joking all day that I want to wreck Trevor. But it was a joke. And I don't really want to wreck Trevor. And then the thought went through my mind, like, oh, great. If I wreck Trevor, he's never going to let me live it down.
Nope.
So I'll just veer off to the left and wreck myself to avoid humiliation.
Yeah.
But it was still fun. And I actually ended up getting back up through the field there. And actually, I was quite proud of myself in that race because I've been struggling a little bit with the road course stuff lately, and I keep wrecking all the time. But besides almost running over you, and then there was one moment a little bit later where I almost crashed, but I saved it. I had a smooth and clean 30-minute race and was actually very pleased with all that. So, and ended up fourth and was catching Walter, I think it was, there at
Yep.
the end.
Yeah, Walter
And
was one in third.
it just ran out of laps.
Yeah.
Or ran out of time, I guess.
Although Walter added some information to that. Oh no, it was in an email. It wasn't in I'll never find it right away. Basically, he said that. Oh, there it is. He says. Actually, I'll just read it. This is from Wall 2 Race with
It
us
is
there.
funny.
He says, "Hi, Trevor and Chad. I've never raced the Spec Racer before today, and I'm still not a fan of that car, but I did have a lot of fun in today's fun race. Fun fact, around lap 10, my steering wheel detached itself from my desk. I screamed like a little girl. My wife rushed in to help reattach the wheel." He says, "That's part of the reason Chad almost caught me in the last few laps. The other part is I kind of suck at iRacing." Anyway, you guys, thanks for your fine work on the podcast and for organizing today's events, Walton, Tennessee. So I asked him, I said, I said, basically, it's like, when you scream like that, it's like, was your wife's first thought, did she know what was happening, or did she think, you had fallen out of your chair and you'd hurt yourself or whatever? And he came back, he said, her first thought was that I'd fallen and I couldn't get up. But then she realized, oh, it's just iRacing. So,
That's funny.
but, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say at the end of the one thing I skipped at the end of the oval race, which that it became kind of it was a fun race. Everything was great. Everything happened, and we did whatnot. Now at the end, I don't know why I thought. In my mind, I thought, hey, the race is over. We hit the checkered flag. I finished second. I do as I normally do. I just kind of slowed down. I didn't stop. Just kind of eased off the throttle. Now I'm in second, which means that most of the field, including Mr. Chad, is behind me. So why I didn't see it coming, why I didn't
Don't
think,
have that
hey,
happen very often, do you?
you know what's going to happen is everybody is going to now just start running into each other. So I had both Chad and Robert came up on me, and they both had the same idea at the same time. So as Robert's about to hit me, Chad comes zooming by, pushes him out of the way, and then wrecks me. And as I'm lying wounded on the apron, along comes Larry, our teammate, and just hits me on the corner in such a way that he uses my car as a ramp, and then then continues to barrel roll along the inside wall for like most of the backstretch.
The funny thing about that is that once I finished spinning and was stopped facing the correct direction, all of a sudden there's just this car flipping like down on top of the wall, just flipping, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? And then like in one of the mid flips, I was trying to look at who it was, and then I saw it was Larry. I was like, Larry, what the heck?
What did you do?
'Cause, I mean, he was literally on top of the wall flipping down through there. But Scott Dunlap, and I have to call this guy out. This is the guy that on the grid, or maybe right before the grid, of the road course race, jumps on there and says, "We get 2 resets, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, we get 2 resets." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm probably going to use about 1.5 of those, And he's like, basically stating he's going to crash, hit some stuff, and then, just goes out and wins the race.
Handily.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like, everybody else wrecked and he got there. Like, he dominated the race. So, yeah, way to use those resets, Scott.
Also, going back to the oval race, at one point in time, there was where's it? There it is. I don't know. I had this moment where I felt special. And let me explain to you why. Because at one point in time, we're lining up, and I had one car ahead of me. It was the 69. It was, don't know his first name, it was J.E. Hyde was ahead of me, and I had Robert Weiss behind me. And we're still single file because we haven't doubled up yet. And the car ahead of me is painted up in a Wolverine paint scheme. And the car behind us, that was J.E. Hyde's car, was Wolverine, and behind me was Robert, and he had his Boom Confetti, which he's put on the forum before as well, Boom Confetti car. So I'm thinking, it's like, you know what? I'm an internet meme. I have a guy ahead of me who's painted his car like Wolverine because of my beard, and I have the guy behind me who's painted his car up like Boom Confetti because I keep saying that on the show. It's like, you know what? I think I've made it. I think I've made it in internet
Yeah.
stardom level that I've created this situation right now. This is happening, and it's really, really cool. But
Yeah, and then I think Robert said something like, "If you hit my car, confetti will fly out of it."
you also mentioned that you promised to push him to the front, and that never happened. So all you did was
Well,
push him out of the way so you could hit me.
well, he was in the way. I told him I'd push him.
But the Okayama race, it was like I said. I mean, it was fun. It was I struggled more than I should have. I struggled from Larry Hale syndrome because he mentioned early on in the race that it's like, man, I don't know what it is. I spin on one lap and on one turn, and then for the next three turns I spin on all those turns like my and maybe it very well has to do with the changes they made with the tire model and stuff like that. But then I started spinning. I'd spin out, and then corners I had no problem with. I'd spin them out, spin out them too. So I mean, I spent time spinning out in front of the leaders. I spent time spinning out, behind the leader, in front of other people. I had somebody. I can't remember. It may have been Robert. I can't remember. Somebody pulled a Trevor, where I was actually faster than them. They were obviously looking at their relative screen or looking in their mirror. I was approaching them. I hadn't made a move to pass them yet, and they go into the corner, go way too hard into the corner, and spin out right in front of me. It's like, haha, I know that move. I know what you just did. You were concentrated about what was happening behind you, and you missed your turn. Ha, been there and done that one. But I said overall, I mean, like I said, I mean, there are people spun out in front of people made contact, and there was never a harsh word. Like it was just everybody was just took it all in stride. Nobody cared. Like it was just fun, which is exactly what we wanted these races to be. And it was great to race with with a bunch of you guys, and glad you guys came out and had some fun with us. And I hope you guys we had some good responses in the forums and emails and stuff. So I hope you guys had fun. I mean, we're definitely gonna do that again because that was just too much fun not to. But
Yeah.
and it was like one of those things where, like I said, it made me think about that league we mentioned because it was a safe haven where people were stepping out of their comfort zones and doing races that they normally wouldn't do. Hey, I've never raced this car before ever, and they came out and ran some laps and had some fun and ended up third, no less. And people who were obviously like weren't really comfortable doing what they were doing with the oval racing, but they came out anyway and had fun. Like that was like that's the spirit of the show right there in a nutshell. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate you guys coming out and spending the time with us and whatnot. And then, unless there's anything else you want to talk about at Okayama,
No, I mean, I had a lot of fun there. I had fun in both races. The whole me dying part in the first game, or the first race was could have been a little different. I didn't really want to die that soon. I'm a very young person. Thought I could live a little bit longer, but yeah, I had fun in both races. So I think we should talk about the demolition derby.
yeah. Then we had a bonus third race because we had some people. It's like what. Why don't we do this? We kind of hinted that we might if we had a good turnout. So we decided to throw on some racing over at Irwindale in the figure 8 configuration just for fun. I mean, everything else it wasn't serious, but it was, people were racing. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Now let's go to a situation where we really, really, really don't care what's happening. So,
And let's do it at a figure 8.
exactly, because if you're not going to care, let's not care in the most extreme way that you possibly can. So we had the legends and we had the
Spec Racer.
thank you. Actually, in retrospect, we probably should have made it the spec racer and the street stock to kind of combine what we did in the first two
Yeah.
races, but never even thought about
Well, I
that.
bet it'd be hard to turn that street stock.
You're probably right. The legends was definitely easier to get around those sharp corners, but
Yeah.
that was not only we had fun in the opening practice as we're getting ready, and there's a lot of time I gathered from the conversation most of the people hadn't even gone to this configuration before, so we had a lot of fun in the practice. Then we did the race and the qualifying, which I don't even know how laps are even marked there because you could cut so many. Like, such a weird track. I mean, looking at the qualifying time, Chad got the pole with a 23.46. Scott was second, like 1.3 seconds slower, and then zero point 0.4 seconds slower than him was the next. Like it was just, or sorry, not the that wasn't the qualifying times. Those were the fastest lap times, but it was like everybody was all over the map as far as how fast they were. It was, yeah, but I mean, it was. I called. There was one driver, Charlie, Habach, Hubach, Cook. Right, that's right. Yeah, still remember when I mispronounced that what nationwide driver name? I think it is.
Yeah.
Cook. Yeah, Koch,
Yeah.
Coach, Koch. It's Cook.
Coach
There's
Koch.
no way that's Cook. There's
Blake
no,
Cook.
there's no way that those letters combined in that order spell Cook. Anyway, so Charlie, I kind of called him out because we were going through the middle figure eight thing, and we had lined it up perfectly. He's coming, I'm coming to the thing. It's like, and we're gonna meet in the middle. Like this is gonna get good. And he stopped. And I'm like, Charlie, that's against the rules, man. you,
Yeah.
you
And
just
then when
go.
you said, and then when you said you're not supposed to stop, do you remember what he said?
No,
Because I do. I'm just asking you.
I don't remember. What
Pretty sure that he said, "I'm scared." Somebody said, "I'm scared." I don't remember if it was Charlie or Jeff or somebody, but somebody was too scared to go through the middle. Now, the one cool thing about having triple screens, you're at an advantage at this track because you can see the crash coming, whereas like with you, you're just blindsided.
Yep.
I mean, you just get killed. I can watch my death coming.
It was funny. There was one that like I don't remember who it was, but I went through there and it was just a perfect scenario where we just reached at the exact same time. Like you watch back my stream, I literally jumped. Like it scared me because the impact was so sudden and violent. I don't even have the seat to beat the crap out of me like you do. But I mean, I physically, yeah. It's like, because it just caught me. I had no idea it was coming.
Yeah.
But
There was one where I came around that turn and was getting ready to go to the middle. And I think I was talking to you on TeamSpeak. And then there was a car that was directly in front of me. I think it was a Legend. And then there was another Legend coming and like right in front of me. And I wasn't even paying attention. So I didn't see this happening because I was talking to you. And just suddenly, like two cars just boom, like, and one of them I think flipped really high in the air. But I mean it's cool to see the takeouts, and that's why the figure eight is fun because it's fun to see how close you can sneak through the middle without getting hit, and then it's also cool when you actually do get hit.
or do the hitting.
Yeah, or do the hitting. There was one move I forget who it was though that. Oh man, it was so close. I mean, we almost collided, and I didn't check up or anything, and I don't guess they did because they probably, I don't know if they have triple screens or not, but I mean, it was either they went directly in front of me or they went behind me, but we were like that close to colliding and demolishing our cars.
Well, I pulled that move off with like me and Larry and got into a groove once where we were basically pulling almost exactly the lap. So like 3 times in a row we went through there and just miss each other like 3 times. Like boom, then the next round we go through and we hit exactly the same time, and we just miss each other like 3 times in a row.
But probably the best part was after the checkered flag of the little 15 lap race, which wasn't really a race in a way. Once that was all finished, everybody just turned into demolition derby mode.
Yeah.
And we pretty much just drove around. Some of us were backwards, some of us were going forward, just trying to find anybody to hit. And we were trying to hit him as hard as we can. But the guy that had the most impressive skill of demo derby has to be Scott Feltenhausen, because his car was basically on its side just about the whole time and was a basketball. And it was still driving in all sorts of directions. And I do not know how he pulled that off. but it is on both mine and Trevor's stream because we both became very amused by it.
Yeah, as we're going, it's like, wait, hold on a second. It's like, what is happening? And because he was on his side and just kind of going, doing it's almost like the DW12 death roll flip thing that it does, and he's just kind of bounce, whir, and he's just going around and around, and I'm stopping. I'm just kind
And
of slowly
it
following.
kept changing sides, like what side he was on. Like if he was on his driver's side door or his passenger side door, to give an example. Like it kept flipping him, but yet he wasn't flipping. It was very weird. And I think Larry at one point was like, Scott, how are you driving that car?
Yeah, actually,
It's like the most serious voice ever.
I think we spent more time doing that than the actual race took.
Yeah.
And it was a point, and like we just turned into kids. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
smashing into each other, and then someone's like, "Oh, wait, I'm on my back. Somebody help!" And then we go smash into them until we get them back on their wheels.
Oh, it was great. That was fun.
Yeah, but it was a good a good palate cleanser at the end of at the end of the races.
I think our next fun race, we need to have a little bit of like a short endurance race with this new driver swap, and then like orchestrate it to where we're not there for like 6 hours, but that
No.
we can do like maybe an hour race or 45 minutes, and then we like team up with like two people, and you do a driver swap, and just to enjoy that feature
Hmm.
with the listeners of the show. And then I think we should take like three cars that are, one of them's really high powered, one of them's medium powered, and one of them's really low powered, and do like a 50 lap race at the Irvindale Figure Eight and just see what happens. Just for kicks. Just go for gold and just see. I mean, I don't know. It would just be fun to, and just do unlimited resets, just wreck, have a blast.
It's too bad that you couldn't set in there. Kind of the Call of Duty type thing, instant spawn. Like if you could,
Yeah,
it would be neat to have in hosted sessions if you could just shut off tow time. So like you just hit the
yeah,
reset button and you're just sitting on pit road with your new car, just go, like
yeah,
for situations like this.
yeah. Make it a whole lot more fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those fun races were fun, and I, like Trevor said at the start, where he thought it was more fun than he was hoping, or at least I think that's what you said. Uh, that's basically what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be a blast, and then I think it exceeded my expectations. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing the next one, or at least getting this league that we've kind of chatted about up and running, because it's definitely a lot of fun. And iRacing is always so serious that it was good to just get in there and all three of the races, not just the Urbandale race, and just drive for kicks and have
Yep.
fun.
And like I said, and everybody, I think, everybody had that understanding that, this isn't a place where, there was going to be no judgment. Like, we're
Yeah,
here to have fun. We're not going to, nobody's going to get mad at anybody. And,
yeah,
and like I said, people made silly mistakes. And, it's funny, actually, I told Scott Dunlop there in the Yokoyama race, because everybody was talking, it's like, oh man, you're getting on, getting close to this person. And, it's like, and there was two people who were having a good battle and back and forth. It's like, I'm not gonna let you buy me and all this good stuff. And it's like, and I piped in because Scott was approaching me in the lead to come lapping. It's like, yeah, well, it's like, wait till Scott gets to me, because I'm not gonna go a lap down in my own race. And he's like, oh, you wrecked me in practice. I expect nothing less. And then
yeah,
as he got to me, like I spun out right in front of him completely, not unintentional. It's like, huh. Well, and fortunately, I spun off the track, and because obviously I wasn't going to block him or anything. But it was, as he approached me, I managed to spin myself off the track anyway. So, but it was just kind of
he's
that. There was a lot of back and forth and just ribbing and good-natured fun on that.
Scott's got one of those self-cleaning things in front of his car where it just cleans the track off. That's what you got. You got cleaned off the track.
It's like, all right, this guy's in the way. Just
Push.
uh,
But yeah,
but
it was fun,
yeah,
and everybody did seem to have fun, and we got some comments afterwards that they had fun. So, um, yeah, looking forward to doing it again.
yep, most definitely. It's not going to be an annual thing because that's just too
No.
long to wait.
Yep.
And besides, I mean, there's got to be a finite level life on this podcast. I mean, are we going to last another year? We can't take that chance. We're going to have to do it before then, just to make sure that we get another one in before before we finally decide. Well, that's about it. I mean, yeah, we talked about everything. So thanks.
Well, goodbye.
But so thanks for everybody coming out and everything. But we're gonna, as we normally do, we look at our show notes and we say, well, it's gonna be a pretty short race, pretty short show this week. There's not that much going on, and then look down at the timer and it's an hour and a half in. So, although I stayed awake for the entire thing, so I'm quite happy with that because apparently
Yeah,
that's
I'm impressed.
yeah. I did give a short nap, and stuff, but it was yeah, not much sleep. No, stop it. Stop it. Anyway, that, of course, will about do it for this week. Big thanks to all of you out there for listening and participating and just being great people and being part of this community and this show that we've created here. Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under their podcast sections, where we would really appreciate a review, speaking of iTunes, to help us get the word out. A lot of people have done it. Keep doing it if you haven't done it already. The show is also available on YouTube and on Twitch. My YouTube channel over at Ratface Productions. It's mirrored over on Chad's over at White Knight Productions. He streams it on Twitch while it's going live, but it gets archived to YouTube just because Twitch. Well, okay, in all honesty, because it gives us an opportunity to more people watch Twitch as a live game show related game show? No. Video game related
Wait,
show.
you can win a new car.
But wait, there's more. No, wait, that's more of an infomercial. But it gives us an opportunity to kind of get out to a different audience in a live prospect, as opposed to people who are watching the archives and stuff like that. So catch out the live stream over on Twitch there, and then it'll be archived on my YouTube channel and then mirrored over on Chad's. You can check out the website for information, archives, links, and the polls we mentioned on the show over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. You can follow show news through Facebook at Facebook.com/iRacingTodayRadio and Twitter. I'm rat. No, I'm not. I'm
I'm a rat.
I'm iRacing Today, and Chad's over there at It's Chadillac.
But please email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions that you may have to feedback@iRacingTodayRadio.com. And of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on the iRacing.com members website. Trevor Cameron, Chad Dalton. That's all you got to search. Are you thinking about joining iRacing? Well, please refer either Trevor or myself in the referral box when you sign up. You can enter either ratface with 2 T's at gmail.com. Or iRacingLegend@gmail.com. Take a pick. And guess what?
What?
Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is very rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.